seconds.
Good evening, everyone. You're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A, and I'm your host, Joe Abadi. I want to thank Jordan Woodworth, Chelsea, and Susie, of course, for helping put this show together. And I want to thank everybody for being here tonight. We're also on YouTube. We're going to be telling you a little bit more about that in just a minute, and you'll be able to enjoy it on your big screen in HD. Jordan, what do we have coming up tonight? This is what I was talking about. The YouTube thing is now happening. We're really excited about this. And if you want to be part of the live chat, you can see there's a little graphic there on your screen with that little circle around it. And you can hit that. You can make comments, and we'll be able to see them as they come in. I won't be able to see them as they come in right now, but Jordan will be able to see it. And in the future, we'll be able to respond to some of those things as well. Also, if you're holding your phone sideways or you're having it in portrait position, you want to have the widescreen effect. What you want to do is you want to hit that little bubble right there where Jordan has the graphic going at the top of the screen. If you hit that, you'll be able to watch it on a nice widescreen on your phone. Or maybe you're on your high definition television and you're watching from there. In the next time, try this segment. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about tonight how to drill that gas tank if you want to get in there and try and remove some dents. In the Moto Showcase, we take a look at a 1974.5 Maico 501. And here's the problem segment. We're going to be talking about some very special little rivets that I've discovered to fasten some seat covers on Maicos. And in the What's It Worth segment, we've got something really special lined up for you. We get an auction from Maico with another Maico. We're going to show you that a little bit later on. 522 project continues. We're going to be bringing you another video tonight of the next step, what we did with the ignition cover. If you can, I'd like you to share it. Share it with all your friends. Reach down on your phone. Tell all your friends you're watching Vintage Motocross Q&A. And we're going to pick a random winner at the end of the show. And what we're going to do is we're going to give away an American AMSOIL shirt, AMSOIL Original. AMSOIL, one of the sponsors of the show. Generally, we just give away some stickers, but Russell Waters and AMSOIL have been very generous to us over the past few months. So I'm going to be giving away a shirt. Now, this one happens to be a small. So if you win, I can send you the small one. Otherwise, let me know what size you are. I'll get a hold of Russell, and we'll make sure you get the right size for you in that AMSOIL shirt. As I mentioned earlier, we're on YouTube, but if you can, send some of your friends some invitations to join us on YouTube. You could subscribe. It's fun. It's free. It's fast. You get all the benefits of watching Vintage Motocross Q&A on your big screen TV. I want to thank everybody who has subscribed so far to the YouTube channel. Also, there's that little bell flashing right there. You'll be able to get alerts when we're on YouTube. As always, I want to thank our sponsors, Preston Petty Products, Vintco, keep the ride going, AMSOIL, who I just mentioned, and FastGuyStuff.com for all the wonderful stickers they've given us for our friends you watching at home all this time. Next time, try this. This is what I was talking about a little bit earlier. We're going to take a look at how to drill a gas tank if you're bold enough to get in there and try and take some dents out. Jordan, let's see what we have here today.
Today, I want to talk to you a little bit about tank repair. If you're bold enough and you want to drill a hole in the tunnel of your tank, much like I've done right here, and you want to attempt to get some of the dents out, here's what you're going to need to do first. You're going to need to mark that hole with something like this, and it's called a spring-loaded center punch, okay? You're going to mark it so you have a place where your drill has a lead where it can go in there, so it's marked. You're going to use a very, very small bit like this. You're going to get started going quite slowly. Then you can go from there, and you can use a step-up bit, depending on how big you want to make that hole for what tool you want to use. Now, here's what's important here. I've already removed a dent from this tank through this hole. Why did I drill the hole here? Because I want to have the shortest path between where the dent is and where I'm going to put this tool in. Why that's important is because of leverage. Once you get very, very far up in that tank with a tool like this, it's a little more difficult to put leverage on it. There's less room from the tunnel from one side to the other. You may not be able to pry down that much on it. This tank still has a dent on top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drill another hole over here in the front of the tunnel. I'm going to show you how I do that and how we're going to attack this dent.
I got started here with my center punch again, and I made a nice mark so that my drill wouldn't walk as I went to attempt drilling a hole in there. Now, I did run into a little problem when the drill started to spin and I was starting to do a little damage on the other side of the tank. So what I did was I took a little duct tape, okay, and I masked off that side of the tank, because as you're going in with that drill on an angle like you're seeing here in the video, you can cause some additional damage there. But I was able to get through there. I was able to use a step-up drill. I made it even a little bigger yet. And then I was able to get in my pry rod like you see here.
Now that you have your hole drill there and you know what tool you're going to be using and it's going to fit in there, this is a good time where you're going to use a little magnet like this, because once you get the tool in there, you're going to want to know exactly where you have it on the dent. So I like to start at the beginning of the dent right here. I never start in the middle, otherwise you just wind up with a bunch of dents around it. Start at the beginning right here, and you could begin prying on that dent, moving it across, and starting to lift your dent out.
I also figured out a way how to secure this tank. It's a CZ tank. I use some clamps. As you can see here, every tank has some individual problems when it comes to securing it. What you can see here is, now that I've got my little pry tool in there, I'm working a 1/16 of an inch at a time, and I'm prying up that dent. I sand a little as I go so I can see where the high spots are, and as I'm walking that tool across and raising that dent, I have an idea of what's going on. $74.5 Maico 501 comes into us tonight from Wade Owen. I wasn't even really sure they made a 74.5 501, but they did. Wade Owen sent in a beautiful example of one to us, and I wanted to feature it here in the Moto Showcase. What Wade tells us about this bike is that it is a race bike. It's fully rebuilt, every single part. It's got NOS Coney poppy shocks. It's got an aluminum US swing arm. All the bearings, seals, and gaskets are new. The forks have been re-hard chromed. The frame's been powder coated. The cases have been vapor blasted. The cylinder and head have all been cleaned up. Everything is working just as it should. And Wade, I want to thank you for sending in these great pictures of this bike. It's got the aluminum tank, obviously that giant 501 cylinder on there. You've done a beautiful job on it. Wade Owen, thank you for your contribution tonight to the Moto Showcase here on Vintage Motocross Q&A. I love everything about this bike, Wade. You've sent me your address. I'm going to get you out some stickers, compliments of fastguystuff.com. In the Here's the Problem segment, we take some questions from different people throughout the week, and we do our best to answer them. There's still some questions going on about Maicos tonight, and here's one that I found actually from Jerry Peterson, sent me the question, and I did a little research on it. What Jerry wanted to know was, where can I find correct rivets for an early Maico seat? It's kind of like a split rivet that goes into the seat, and once you get them out, they're not real easy to get back in. They're also not very easy to find in original condition. So I went on Facebook and I actually found a post by Dan Vitaletti in one of the Maico Facebook pages. And Dan says he went to this place called Buckle Guy, and he found these split rivet type things. And it's actually a screw on one side and what appears to be a smooth face rivet on the other. And you drill your hole, or you have your holes already in your seat. You want to pop a little hole through the cover, and you can run the screw on one side, put that black smooth face side on the other, and it's going to look just like a split rivet that you would find on your early Maicos to hold that seat cover in place. So Dan Vitaletti, you have no idea how much you helped me, but you did. It was a great post that you put on Facebook, and I was glad I was able to share that with one of our viewers here. My good old buddy Al Egator, Joe, were 81 Maico 490s delivered with Corticasso shocks or Öhlins shocks? I called my buddy Steve Marps up on this, who's actually an Öhlins dealer and quite knowledgeable when it comes to Maicos. Steve explained to me that you could actually order a Maico 490 with either Öhlins on it, or it would come standard with Corticasso shocks on it. This bike happens to have Öhlins right here. Absolutely a top shelf shock, no question about it. I didn't realize that you could order at that time, that you had an option of ordering Corticasso or ordering Öhlins in place of Corticasso shocks at that time. So in answer to your question, if you're doing a restoration, either one would be correct. An Öhlins shock, of course, is much better. There's a picture of a pair of Corticasso shocks right there. That's what they look like. So either one would be correct. Thanks for your question, Al. Mitch Brown, Joe, can you discuss the proper break-in procedure for a two-stroke? You can go on Google and you can find 10 different things on how somebody's going to tell you how to break in a two-stroke. I'm going to tell you what I've done for years, works perfectly every time. I'm very comfortable with it, and I learned a few things along the way. Here's what I do. Number one, you want to make sure your top end is put back together properly. Check the end gap on the ring, make sure you got new gaskets, make sure everything is nice and clean, put together very, very well, and of course, torque the head. What you're going to do after that is start your bike with the regular mixture of gas that you normally use. Do not add more oil thinking you're getting more lubrication. You're not. That's a story for another day. Just mix your mixture at whatever you usually use, 32 to 1, 40 to 1, 50 to 1, whatever it is. Put a fan next to your engine. Your bike should be idling, a fan just like this, kind of a big floor fan. Let that bike idle there with that fan on it for 10 minutes. Shut the bike off, leave the fan going, let the engine cool down a half hour to 40 minutes. Start the bike up again. Run the fan, let the bike run for 10 or 15 minutes, shut it off, let the fan keep going, let it cool down 30 minutes to a half hour. You've run 2 good heat cycles through that engine, you're ready to go. Now, I wouldn't say go out there and just rip on that thing wide open for 100 yards, but your bike is pretty well broken in at that point. The rings have been seated. You can recheck the torque on the head, and you're ready to go. Mitch Brown, I want to thank you for the question. Bill, every now and then one runs by us, and you say to yourself, how come I wasn't there that day? A Maico 501 for what, 250 bucks, probably plus some seller or buyer's fee. Did you see that?
L199 from the Worthy Collections, and a 1973 Maico 501, that's 501 cubic centimeters, is a legendary, fearsome machine. It's about an 80% complete project bike, short production, no reserve bill of sale.
5,000 bid. Who wants one? 5,000, 4,000, 3,000, 2,000. Tell me if I'm getting warmer. 500. 250's bid.
Yeah, that was an interesting result. Clearly, no one showed up for this auction except for one guy. And they do say that 50% of success in life is just showing up. So here we go. Here's a great example of that.
Yeah. When I looked at it, I said to myself, I mean, there's probably somebody out there sitting with a 501 engine with no frame, or there's that guy out there with the frame with no engine. I would value just the frame alone probably at about $1,000 to $1,200. And what do you think about the engine? Even if it was locked up, what would you say?
Oh gosh, there's not a lot of them around, and there's probably a lot of people looking for parts. So,
yeah.
A couple $1,000 for the engine would be, not unheard of at all. No telling what condition this one is in. Judging from some photos, things look fairly rusty. It most likely is very locked up. Hard to say whether the piston is usable or not. Those are kind of a hard item to find. It's a bit of a crapshoot buying an engine like this, and particularly at this auction, there was no information provided on the condition of the bike.
Hey, Bill, do you think this might have been a very early 3-speed bike, or it's more than likely a 4-speed bike?
I'm guessing 4-speed, but I didn't run the serial number to really check. I think most people would prefer the 4-speed, but there's probably some good collector value in the early 3-speed as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Now, going back a few months, there were a couple of Maico 501s that had sold. I remember one going off at the Maico auction last January. And wasn't there another auction, Bill, going on somewhere at that time?
Yeah, the very same day of the January Maico Vegas auction, there was a 501 that sold at around $23,000, I believe. It was probably an all-time record for a restored 501 in no excellent condition. On that same day in Los Angeles at Iconic Motorbikes, there was a smaller auction, not real well known, and a very similar condition 501 sold for about $10,000. So that's a huge swing in value, and it's it had to do with just who showed up and who knew about these two listings.
Even if the piston were difficult to find, somebody out there's got to have one. Even if you had to have one made from Maico and you had to buy it back, whatever you had to do to get a piston, you're into the bike so right. What difference would it make at that point? So
yeah, none at all. My hope would be that the buyer of this particular Maico is someone who wants to save it and complete the bike and make it whole again, rather than just parting it out for a quick profit.
I agree. For $250 plus a premium bill, somebody's clicking their heels together, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was a good day for that buyer, no doubt about it.
Bill, thanks for joining me this morning.
Good to see you again, Joe.
Thank you.
All right.
The 522 project continues. We've been trying our best every week to bring you a good video with what we've been doing on the 522 project. It, of course, is a bike that we've been working on for a while. It's going to be a replica of a 1974 RC125, just like you see right here in the picture, a bike that became iconic when the legendary Marty Smith won the inaugural 1974 125 National on that bike. This week, we're going to be showing you a video of what we did with this little cover right here. Jordan?
I'm excited to bring you the next installment of the 522 project. This week, we're going to be talking about the ignition cover. We made something specific and special for this bike because we're trying to cover as many details as possible. If you look closely, you can see that there's actually a Honda logo on this cover. How did it get there? Well, we did a little research and we did a little trick. We found out that the 1979 ignition cover had the font we were looking for, the raised letters from the Honda, and we brought some that were broken. We cut the cover out of it, the circular section we needed, and we had some frames made in order to put that in there. We used some Metal Lab, and then we finished it up with some sand finish paint to give it that sandclast look. And that's what we're doing for the ignition cover on the 522 project.
Project continues. We'll bring you an update again next week. It's probably going to be on the cylinder. Jordan, thanks for editing that tape for us for the 522 project. I hope everybody's enjoying that on our weekly series. In the product spotlight tonight, we have a Preston Petty product. Once again, we are pleased to be authorized Preston Petty dealers. And you can come to us if you'd like to order some fenders, or go directly to Preston Petty on their website. And you can order whatever you like right through the great folks over there at Preston Petty Products. Tonight's special is 10% off a Preston Petty MX white front fender. MX only on the white front. 10% off. Inbox me for the code. I'll send you the code when you go to checkout. You can plug it in, get 10% off those white MX front fenders from Preston Petty. I'll also be putting up a post tomorrow with the fender on there where you'll be able to comment, send me the code, I'll send it to you, and you'll be able to get 10% off Preston Petty MX white front fender from now until Sunday. I want to thank Paul Stannard, Preston Petty, and everyone there, including Patty, for helping us out every week with these great specials. Oh, Vintco. They've got another great product that they came up with this week. They sent it in to us. It's a Suzuki RM 400 clutch kit. This thing is really great because the kit will save you a whole lot of time and a whole lot of money, because it comes complete with the steel plates and the friction plates as well. The clutch springs are heat treated. It's OEM quality. This is a drop-in kit for all 79 and 80 RM 400 models. You get 5 plates, 6 friction plates, 6 springs. You get everything you need from the guys at Vintco, guaranteed to fit and perform better than an OEM item. Vintco, keep the ride going. We're going to take a commercial break and take a look at that Vintco commercial right now. When we get back, we'll tell you who shared.
Classic and vintage dirt bikes are more than a hobby. It's not just about the ride. It's about the work that goes in. The work that keeps you connected to the ride. It's about bringing the bike back to life and doing it with your own hands. It's about the adrenaline and adventure. And when it comes to putting all the pieces together, only Vintco knows the bikes and parts the way you do. Vintco, keep the ride going.
Vintco.com, keep the ride going. I don't know if I mentioned just before the break what that clutch kit is. $89.95 from Vintco. Susie came in. We have our random share winner. His name is Darren Kulik, or Kulik, K-U-L-Y-K, Darren Kulik. If you'll contact us and give us your address, we will get you a shirt, compliments of AMSOIL.com. AMSOIL, the first synthetic since 1973. We'll get you one. If you're a size small, it'll come directly from me. If not, I'll get a hold of AMSOIL, and we will get you a shirt in the size that you require. Darren, thank you so much for sharing the show. What's up next, Jordan? This week in MX history, a motocross star was born in 1947. It was the Flying Hawaiian John DeSoto. John turned 73 just yesterday. John was a 3-time state champion in Hawaii, also a pioneer in American motocross. He was there during the early times of the Nationals and the Inter-Ams. He even spent some time over in Europe. I want to wish John DeSoto a very, very happy 73rd birthday. Aloha, John. Just how I see it, you know, a lot's been going on lately as far as us not being able to see some racing when it came to Supercross toward the end of the season and when it came to the new season coming up. Scenes like this are getting to be far and in between, where you see a nice family out there, father, son, daughter, whoever it may be, out there on the trails on a nice trail bike. Now, the problem is that there just doesn't seem to be enough advertising, I think, going on, and that door doesn't swing in dealerships enough when without racing going on. So the sales are down, especially on off-road bikes, and they've been that way for a while. It's getting even worse right now without racing. Not many motocross bikes are going out the door either. It's a win on Sunday, sell on Monday mentality, and without the racing going on, things are getting real quiet out there. MX Racing only carries the sales so long. And without that, not much is going on. And they have been struggling all along, even with motocross going on. The bikes just aren't selling like they used to. Maybe street bikes are, but the off-road bikes and the trail bikes, it's just not what it used to be. Now, why is that? I'll tell you, and I look at it this way. I remember the old days, and maybe I'm going back too far. Maybe a time when there was a show like Bonanza where Chevrolet sponsored the whole show. You just don't have that anymore. The manufacturers haven't gotten together on this in quite some time to make it look like more of a family unit, getting people through that door and getting them on bikes and getting them to retain their loyalty to that brand. When you get a 5 or 6 year old kid on a bike and he gets on a Honda for the first time, he generally stays with that all the way through his life. And the manufacturers really need to get together cooperatively, individually, however they need to do it. But they need to get a family back in the door, create a sales funnel, and to get people back in the showroom again. Yes, you can go online and you can see certain things, but they need to do something more and recreate that brand loyalty from a younger point of view. I had Scott Harden on my show, on my radio show a couple of weeks ago. We were talking about that. I asked him if he thought that electric bikes were going to be part of the saving grace of the motorcycle industry. He disagreed. He didn't think it would be. So while this is a vintage motocross program, and that's what we talk about mostly, the health of the industry as a whole is something we should all take into consideration, and we should want to see those off-road bikes out there in the hands of mom and pop and the kids in that scene. Again, tomorrow I'm going to put up a post on Vintage Motocross Q&A. It'll be like a poll. You can put in some comments, and we'll talk more about how you feel and what you think manufacturers should do to get back down to that grassroots in the sport and get people staying with that brand once again. That's just how I see it. Announcements, we got some good ones for you tonight. Jordan, what's the first thing we got coming up? Vintage Motocross Radio. Last week, my guest was Dave Arnold. And 40 years at Honda, he had some amazing things to say. Jordan, why don't we play a clip of what Dave had to talk about on my show last week?
You know, that RC 125, I always had a few questions, and you're one of the, I don't know, I guess you're like the only guy I could really ask about it. Was the head on that bike actually made of copper, Dave?
Yes, it was. I think that bike, Terry Good,
yes,
does this working on this motocross museum project.
Mm-hmm.
He has one of the early prototypes that Taishi Yoshimura raced for. It was more of it was a works bike, but it was a prototype for future production, the 125 Elsinore. And that bike weighs something like 138, 140 pounds. And whatever the minimum weight limit was for AMA racing, our bikes were actually lighter than that. And I think, it was still an air-cooled bike. So an engineer came up with the idea, well, one way to cool the bike was to run a copper cylinder head to dissipate heat better than the aluminum. And then it's also putting the weight closer to the center of gravity. I mean, it was super heavy, too. When you pick up the cylinder head, it's like, oh, my God. Now they have software that tells you real time who's doing what. Back then, we were scrambling and trying to figure out. And I remember we were in front of this snow fence, and it might have been at Lommel Sand Track in Holland. And, everybody likes to drink beer in Belgium and Holland, And so there was a bunch of spectators, and so they were yelling at us to get out of the way. They couldn't. Roger and I were crouching down and say, "Hey," they're speaking in Dutch or Flemish or French, tell us to get out of the way. And Roger turns around, tells the guy to shut up, And then the guy's still drinking all of his beer, and he yells something else. And Roger turns around and pops the guy in the face. And I was like, "Oh my God!" I mean, and then all of his friends, who'd also had quite a bit to drink, they're like, "Hey, that was Roger that just hit you."
This week on Vintage Motocross Radio at 11 a.m. on Sunday morning, I am really excited to be speaking with Jim and Jimmy Weinert. Jimmy Weinert will be my guest this Sunday at 11 a.m. on Vintage Motocross Radio. I hope you could join me. Hey, there's a race. Imagine that something hasn't been canceled. There's an ARMA National coming up at Archview MX in East St. Louis this weekend, July 24th and 26th. So go over to arma.org if you want to find out more about that. But there is a race in East St. Louis, Archway MX, July 24th and 26th. Lucas Oil, this is really great. Although it is an abbreviated season, we are going to be seeing some outdoor racing coming up, and that is going to start in August. So August 15th, you got Loretta Lynn's National coming up, and it goes right through up until October 10th, with the last race being at Fox Raceway, which is a national in Paula, California. So if you've been hankering for some outdoor motocross, hang on till August 15th. Lucas Oil is going to be bringing it to you on NBC, MAV TV, and I think if you got the gold package, you're going to see it there too. Looking forward to seeing some outdoor racing coming up in August. Marty Smith commemorative decal sheet is still available from my friend Rich Vasallo. Contact him at USA1899@AOL.com. Just $20 for a beautiful sheet. I want to thank Richard, of course, for putting that together. Wally Hackensmith for contributing some artwork to it. Rich Designs for running off the printing on that. They're running low on these now. They've had them for sale for a couple of months. There really aren't that many left, and I don't think after the next couple of weeks there are going to be any more runs on this. So get a hold of Richard, USA1899. He has Venmo. He has PayPal. Get yourself 2 sheets, one for your toolbox, one to put on a frame in the wall. Commemorative Marty Smith stickers. Get them while they last. Oh, we got the T-shirts too. $21.99 gets you a great vintage motocross Q&A T-shirt like this. It's got a logo on the front. It's got the Facebook thing on the back with my name. Get them while you can. This is Jordan's deal, and it's going pretty good so far. $21.99. Vintage motocross Q&A T-shirts.
Might have to add YouTube to the back of the shirt, Joe.
We might have to add YouTube to the back of the shirts. A little voice just went off in my head. I want to thank everyone who is watching on YouTube tonight. And you know what? If you are, why don't you comment where you're watching from and what you think of the show tonight? Any kind of information like that would be greatly appreciated. Thank you, everyone who is watching our first episode on YouTube this evening. FastGuyStuff.com supplying us all those stickers every week for people who send in bikes for the Moto Showcase. Thanks, Sean Goins, everyone at FastGuyStuff.com for all your support. Vintage motocross sponsorship opportunities are available, and I just tightened up my proposal, my proposal for that I can email to people. I was working on it today. We've got some new information in there. The rates are really, really good, and I can custom tailor some things for you, something that'll really, really work for you. And we've worked with Amsoil, Vintco, PrestonPetty.com, of course, FastGuyStuff.com. We've had to kind of custom tailor some things for each one of those companies, but they're all using it. They've all stuck with us all through this lockdown COVID thing. They've all been seeing results from being a sponsor here at Vintage Motocross Q&A. And now with the YouTube thing going on, you're going to be even getting more bang for your buck. So get a hold of me. I'll get you a sponsorship proposal package, and we'll put something together for you. Well, that's it for tonight. I hope you enjoyed our show. I want to thank you all for tuning in to Vintage Motocross Q&A. And now not only on Facebook, but on YouTube as well. Jordan, Chelsea, thank you all. Susie, is Gino going to be joining me tonight? Gino? I don't know if Gino's coming in tonight. I know this is a big part of the show for a lot of people, but wait to see my little dog jump in with Gino. Come on, boy. Come on, Gino. Oh, there he is. I thought he was going to miss the cue again. Good night, everyone. Thanks for watching.